My name is Alabi. Considering everything that's happening in the world right now, and especially what's happening and been happening in the dear country Nigeria, which happens to be the most populous black country in the world, I decided to take it upon myself to have an informed conversation with a dear friend of mine, an intellectual about the NSAS movement, about police brutality. The purpose of this conversation was to get a sense of what this all means and to keep everyone that cares to listen informed. The rationale being to answer a couple of questions from what's the NSAS movement? How long has this been going on? What are the demands of the protesters on the street? And how peaceful and well organized these protests have been? But before this interview could be published, a couple of days, a day or two later, the Lekki massacre happened. So we would like you, as a viewer, as a listener, to understand the context which this interview took place. Um, I had decided I was thinking of actually disposing of this interview, but I thought to myself that it was very important to capture the very essence of the protest before the Lekki massacre, so that it can be memorialized in history what the initial goals of this protest were, and as a result, what it was hoping to achieve. And in the spirit of that consciousness, I decided to still go ahead and release this interview. But of course, my heart goes out to every single person that has lost life, property, and loved ones during the course of these events. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope this keeps you more informed and helps you understand what's happening in Nigeria and West Africa right now.
Days ago, right? I think it was sometime last week. I saw the NSAS movement trend, like the number one trending topic on Twitter globally,
Yeah.
or within the United States. I was surprised. I was like, NSAS. That sounds very familiar, right? So I looked at everything. I saw it a was coming out of Nigeria, and I was really surprised. Then I started hearing the stories and everything. So, um, considering putting everything into consideration, I think is a good idea to talk to somebody on the ground there that actually knows what's going on. So, what's up with NSAS? What does that mean? What does that entail?
Okay. I'll start from the basics. NSARS is not another coronavirus. It's the SARS stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. It's
Okay.
actually an acronym. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a special unit within the Nigerian police force. So what basically goes on is that unit was created to fight special crime,
Okay.
tough crime. Yeah, like armed robbery and kidnappings and stuff like that. So over time, they have been abused by some officers of this special task force, and they have encroached into a lot of citizens, their private life. So the yearnings of the people currently is to have a reform of this unit in some sorts, yeah, so that they can have their work clearly cut out, because now they are beginning to overreach, and many times they actually go as far as killing some innocent individuals. So that has caused a lot of uproar over the years.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. There's something
Yeah.
I'm very glad you said. There's something you just said now that was a very interesting way you ended that answer that question. Where you ended was it's been happening for a couple of years. So give me a little bit of context. Give me historical context. Is this the first time? So now I'm standing out. Somebody in diaspora, somebody anywhere in the world is thinking to himself, is this the first time this starts? Is this the second time? Has this been going on? Or was it one incident? So was it one-off incident? Has this been going on? So what's the situation?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a build up of what has been going on for a while. There has
Okay.
been several moves by different sectors of the system to try to resolve this issue of the excessive use of force by these police officers. Now, sometime in 2017, someone was killed and the matter was brought up for review, and the government actually set up a task force to look into this special unit and investigate the happenings, what's going on there. After like 2 or 3 months, the matter was washed aside and everybody forgot about it. In 2018, it happened again. A special task force was set up again, and the vice president commissioned it, and normal paperwork followed, and nothing happened. In 2019, it happened again. And the Inspector General of Police decided to rebrand it and take the powers out of the state commissioners into the federal force. So they were supposed to now receive instructions directly from the center. But that didn't work either. These killings continues, these extortions continue, this malicious abuse of people continued. And it got to a head in the past 2 weeks where another killing occurred. An innocent boy was dragged out of his hotel room and was shot point blank on the streets. Now, the people can't continue to have their lives taken from them. So that's why we have this march against this elite force. We are not asking for the police to be scrapped or anything like that. We need law and order, but we also do not want our lives to be unjustly taken from us. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So you don't just pick someone up and shoot at them.
Yeah.
There have been many instances of people coming up to say they are part of the story of things that have happened to them, and it's quite sad when you listen to them.
Yeah, as a lawyer yourself, you have an appreciation for the law, and you have appreciation for the fact that no police officer should be given the right to be judge, jury, and executioner on the side of the road. So I think that's a big deal, and everything. Everything in context. Now that we've gotten to this point where been this uproar and everything, what would you say would be now? First of all, before I get into that, what was this whole thing with the whole SWAT thing? What was that thing? That was just a quick one. That was just a good segue.
Yeah. So when the NSAS movement started, the government made a press conference and decided to suspend the SARS unit. So it quelled down for about 2 days. And after 2 days, the government came up again and said, we're setting up a SWAT team. Now, this is another acronym for Special Weapons and Tactics Unit. And what we saw was the people from the SARS unit are the same people that you're going to recruit into the SWAT unit. So technically, you are rebranding these people. So that's where the distrust came from. That's why people are still on the streets. Even though the government has told them that they are going to look into it, they are not quite trusting as they were once, because they've said the same thing in 2017, they've said the same thing in 2018, they've said the same thing in 2019. This is 2020. And they are saying the same thing. We're going to look into it. We are going to rebrand the name, and we're going to have the same officers in place. So people don't want that. They want meaningful reform. They want these officers to be brought to book. They want you to really look into these people and investigate what's going on. Why do they act the way they do? What's their motive? Why do they just kill people on the streets? Why do they have to extort citizens that legitimately go about their business?
So next question will be, and this is, I know you're a concerned citizen of Nigeria and everything, and you're a concerned citizen, and I'm not like making you seem like the focus, but just from a general sense of like, you're not like leading this movement or anything, but just from your perspective as a concerned citizen, what would you say is what would be the demands of these protesters? What are their main demands?
The demands of the protesters are quite simple. They simply demand the government to be more concerned about them. The Nigerian people don't ask for too much from their government. They just want to be alive. The people don't ask for excessive luxuries. The government doesn't give adequate electric power supply, but the people kind of get through it. They get their own power generators and get their electricity up and running, and they go about their business. The government don't get potable water to enough families around the country, but people come around and build their own boreholes and wells and supply their own water for themselves. The government doesn't provide a lot of things for people, and they get about these things themselves. Now they just want to be allowed to be human beings and live. That couldn't be too much for the government to ask. So the people want the government to stop the killings, stop the extortion, stop these agents of the government from harassing the individuals. These people have been commissioned and they took an oath to serve the people. But now it seems the reverse. The people are paying the price for them wearing their uniforms. It's a bit
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah, and that said, there's an interesting aspect of this whole equation, right? There's an interesting aspect. There's a very interesting dynamic, which is mind-boggling. First and foremost, talk to me about the nature of these protests. Are they intelligently organized? Are they violent? Are they non-violent? Speak to me to the nature of this protest. And the next thing I would just speak to me to the nature of this protest. Who are the people organizing this protest? Like, how is this thing happening?
That's the very interesting question everybody wants to find out. The government wants to know who are the organizers, who is leading the protest. The simple answer to that question is nobody and everybody. Because there is no one you can pick and say, what do you want? Who's your leader? And he stands up and say, I'm the leader. There's no leader. The leader is the citizen, the office of the citizen of Nigeria. Everyone, citizen of Nigeria, is the leader. We all want a better life. We all want things to go on well for us. We all want to have good standard of living. We all want to be able to say we can plan for our tomorrow. We can't just go about our business and someone snuffs the life out of you. So
Yeah.
the office of the citizen of Nigeria is the organizer of this protest. Every aggrieved Nigerian over the years is the one that wants change. The protests have been largely peaceful and very organized. This is actually very surprising, even for Nigerians. We can't imagine people have organized this process so peacefully around the country, and it's very remarkable that you have protests around the country and you are not having loss of life from protesters. You are having loss of life from police officers who shoot at the protesters.
So speak
Now,
to me about, does
protesters,
this whole thing about the people even helping other people find their phones? People are helping each other, like being their brother's keeper out there. So talk to me about that. What's that whole energy like?
yeah, yeah, that's the surprising thing. The energy is one of brotherhood, one of community. There's kind of like a community revival going on, and everyone is pitching in. People get their phones lost in kind of these crowded places, and someone picks it up, puts the picture on social media, and says, "If you want your phone, I picked it on the floor. Meet me and such a place." Some people who lost some valuables got theirs back. Some people who had their cars vandalized by some other thugs who came to disrupt the protest had mechanics fix it for them for free. Some people who had their phones smashed had people who could repair it fix it for free. These
Wow.
things are happening in Nigeria by the
Wow.
protesters who all want a better living.
Oh wow.
So we are seeing
That's
this
that.
kind of reform go on, and it's so remarkable that this is happening at such a time, and it's not violent. People just want a change in the way government does the things they do.
there's something that is pretty obvious in this situation. You spoke to me now about protesters finding people's phones and actually returning them to these people. People being their brother's keeper, people helping each other fix cars that have been vandalized, people paying for stuff. You even went, there was even some reports of private security personnel protecting the protesters, right? After all
Yes,
said and
yes.
done, uh, doesn't that belie the notion that Nigerian is a very corrupt? You know, at one point within the last couple of decades, within the last decade, uh, it was said that Nigeria is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. So, for a corrupt country in the world, they don't seem so corrupt now, do they? Do we, in general?
That notion is a perceived notion
Okay,
from a certain people, not necessarily what is.
okay,
That's something that is perceived to be. Not it's not really what's on ground. What is on ground is honest people trying to do the best they can with the resources they have. So that is utterly not true. It may be true with a very small fraction of individuals in the system, but that's not true for everybody. The vast number of Nigerians are honest people who want to earn an honest living. So you can see that replicated across all endeavors. You see that with people, with Nigerians who study, they come out top of their classes. Even those that study in diaspora, you see them coming out doing so well. You see them professionals, medical professionals, legal professionals, engineers, and so on and so forth.
and
So
sports in the sports entertainment, the Nigerians seem to be
they are totally in control of that right now. You see that
wow,
with boxing and the UFC, and so
everything.
it's a country of great potential, but a few individuals are trying to undermine that, and that's what we don't want. That's why this generation is calling out for things to be done right. We know we can do these things right, and we want it to be done properly. We know how to do these things. So that's the clamor for change.
Hmm. So, going back to a very there's something I saw that surprised me, which made me realize how thoughtful this whole protest has been, how thoughtful and how everyone has taken the time to actually think from this perspective of everybody else. So, is it true that the protesters are also clamoring for the increase of the salaries of the police officers? And what does this mean? Why would you do that? Why will you be clamoring for the increase of the police officers that are actually the one, at least some of them are the ones accused of these crimes?
Yeah. First off, the police officers are Nigerians before they are police officers.
Mm,
So these people come from homes. These people have parents. These people have children. These people have siblings who are all members of the society. So if we can make their lives better, because we are also looking at the psychological aspect of their jobs. If you are not properly well catered for by your employers, the government, then you tend to resort to other means to make ends meet. So these police officers will taken a review of what their pay structure is, and it doesn't seem to be so commensurate with the amount of job, the kind of exercise you're asking them to do. You're asking people to secure your life, and they are not properly fed.
mm,
Someday, somehow, they are going to turn on you to feed. So you don't give people guns and don't take care of them and expect them not to use their guns. So we
mm.
know these are part of the underlying factors that may make some people who may be good, who may have had good intentions going into the police force, to get derailed along the way. So we
Yes. Because,
want, we're asking for a reform, we're asking for a better police structure for these people because they are Nigerians also. So
mm,
they can take care of their families also. So we want these things to happen. We also want the erring officers to be brought to book so that you can try them properly, you charge them for the crimes, and let there be accountability. Let there be justice. Let the families of these people get to have closure.
Bringing me, so you talked about you're touching on very valid points. You're talking about reforming the police and their pay scale. You're talking about creating a body that oversees police issues. So, for example, I think some things may go further as saying that Nigerians will want a commission that is set up that in case there's any form of police brutality or police abuse of power, you can actually report to this particular line or organization and they will handle it and actually prosecute the police. Um, you talked about reforming the police. Now, there were some other things that I also
Yeah,
saw. Okay, you want to take that from there? Like releasing the
yeah,
protesters.
because yes, we've seen action in that direction. We've seen
Okay.
governors calling for the release of these protesters who have been arrested during the protest. We've also seen them calling for the release of the people who were falsely detained by the former SARS unit. So
Okay.
we are calling for these releases. We are also calling for, the government has also set up a committee on this issue also for every state. We have a committee, a judicial panel that listens to everybody who has had a very, very bad experience with these SARS operatives. So that's currently ongoing by the government. And I think it's a step in the right direction. But people just want to see more. People want to see concrete and decisive action being taken as the process goes along.
Yeah. Then also, I think there's been talk about compensation for the victims of these crimes and atrocities, which will go a long way in
Yeah.
helping. This is so much to unpack. It's so much to unpack. Now, there was this
Yeah,
thing with the prison
certainly.
break in Benin City. What's going on? What's going on there?
That is still fresh, but we are certain that those were not the protesters.
Okay.
Somewhere along the
Why why
line,
why
the
why would you
protesters,
why would you
the
be so
protesters
certain of
pulled
that?
back. Yes, because the protesters usually have a mode of operation. You have protesters moving with placards, chanting the reform SARS movements and reform of the police. But these people have no placards. They're weaponized. They had machetes. They had poles and rods and sticks. They were willing to cause mayhem. So the protesters pulled back, called off the strike, and these people went on rampage. Now, investigations are still ongoing as we speak, so I couldn't say how the
Totally
the
understand.
events escalated to the way they went. So we'll wait
Okay.
for the investigations to come through.
The progress that has been made, the fact that everybody is standing up for their rights in a country that has been known to suppress the rights of citizens, and this is actually finally happening, is really, really, really interesting to see. And I think it's been a long time coming. But after all said and done, I have a very sneaky suspicion that the power of the End SARS movement is being fed. There's energy coming from something and somewhere else. Am I wrong? Are there more underlying issues?
Currently going on, it's kind of feels like a breath of fresh air that people can say no to bad governance. It's actually very good to see, very, very commendable. Now, the frustrations, as you have pointed out, is it's it comes from a lot of places, but those other places have not been as severe as the NSAS. You know, when you push people so far and begin to snuff the life even out of them, then they have to push back.
Mm.
We've had to deal with rising unemployment, we've had to deal with rising inflation over the years, and these have even worsened with the COVID. Now we are bracing up for what may seem like a second recession in 5 years. Now we've been dealing with bad health systems and education systems, but people have been able to cope and manage and wiggle through all of that. But having to lose their lives by people who have been commissioned to protect their lives was just the last straw, and we couldn't have it anymore. People just had to break loose. Now they are using this platform to demand for reforms in other sectors. We're asking for better healthcare systems, better education systems, better police reform, better policing, asking for a lot of reforms, more like good governance and accountability for the people who voted the elected officials into office.
Just in case anybody, people watching right now, the people watching, people listening, there are a couple of things that I think are very, very interesting about the country called Nigeria. One of them is Nigeria has one of the largest populations. I think is the most populous black country
The
in the world,
largest
right?
population.
The largest population, the most
Yes.
populous black country in the world. It has potential to be a very great country. It's one of the top 10, is in the top 10 OPEC suppliers of crude oil. It's been there for the longest. It has the youth, the manpower, the intelligence, the economic power to be one of the world leaders in almost every sphere of society. And yet we're having these issues and having these conversations because it's not, the dream of Nigeria has not lived up to its full potential. But after putting all that into consideration, Royce, I would like to get your take on what you think is going to happen with all of this. Like I know you're not a soothsayer. I know you don't have a magic wand to look into the future. But is something changing? Am I wrong to believe something is changing? That the dynamic is changing? Again, people like Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, they've all come to Nigeria. These are very smart guys. So you won't come to a place that doesn't have so much potential. So I just want to get your take. Am I being overly optimistic at this point, or it's possible that there's something is definitely changing for the better in Nigeria right now?
What we are seeing is Nigeria, no doubt, is a very, very blessed country. We have vast amount of untapped resources or poorly tapped resources that could be used to push the nation to the next level, to the frontier of nations around the world. But that's part of the anger that the youth are having right now. They know that these potentials exist. They know countries with far less potentials are doing well. They are doing better than us. So we want to see a change. And you just mentioned it, we're high with the resource of oil and gas. We're high with the resource, beautiful weather, mind you. This is a very good destination for tourism, but it has been largely untapped. This is a very good marketplace. You mentioned Jack Dorsey and Facebook, Zuckerberg. These people know the markets they have. They know the markets in Nigeria. And with this population, any business can thrive. If you have a product, this is the best place to put that product. It will sell. You have the crowd, you have the teeming population, vastly educated population that are ready to tap into these things. So investors know that this is the place to be. If you do your math, you know that the numbers will go right for you. But a lot of the perceived factors tend to hinder them from coming into this country. And that's what we don't want. We want Nigeria to be in the forefront of business and investment. We want Nigeria to be in the forefront of innovation because we know we can do it. We have the resource to do it. We have the talent. We have the manpower. We have the population. Everything in our favor.
Awesome. So from the looks of things, the future is bright. From the looks of things, Nigeria is a
Yes. So
country to watch out for. From the looks of things, we have a lot going on. Sorry, I wanted to say something.
yeah, we can begin to hope that things will get better. We are seeing concrete steps in the right direction from the government and the officials in charge. Things are beginning to look more optimistic. Yes.
Okay. So I'm happy. To I'm glad to really hear that, and I'm happy about what's taking place so far. But the to just round this up, I know I've taken a lot of your time. I know you have cases to look at, and I don't want to take too much of your time at this point. But the one thing I want to say is I want to just reiterate a couple of let me try to do this right. One of the things I try to do is like regurgitate what you've told me to see if I've gotten it right. So one of the things the protesters want is release of all protesters that have been
Yeah.
arrested, release of all SARS people that have been arrested by
Unlawful
this SARS in
detainees.
unlawful detainees. They want people want a reform of the police that is not just about is about psychological evaluation as much as economic incentives to give the police officers the right salaries so they're able to feed their families and don't have to prey on the people that they serve.
Yeah.
We also talked about I've also seen the talk about a committee that is set up for the entire country that enables people report police misconduct to a particular line and have that organization actually follow up with those cases. Then compensation for all the victims of police brutality that have taken place. Sadly enough, there are stories of when you go to endsars.com, you see stories of people that have missing relatives that they're not even sure have been killed by SARS. So those are very painful stories. There are some people that might actually fall through the cracks, even if the government decides to compensate, right? There are some people that might even fall through the cracks, even if the government decides to compensate people. So that said and done, I just want to get, is that in line? Is my imagination running away with me? Am I getting the point of what people want?
Yeah, absolutely. You've gotten the point. I think that's exactly what they're demanding. People just want a very good step to be taken. People want the government to be able to acknowledge that these things are happening and take concrete steps to resolve them. So I think we're beginning to move in the right direction. Yes.
Well, in conclusion, there are still underlying issues. There are still things that need to be taken care of, and that is also one of the things following this protest and everything. But would that be wrong, or would that be right in your opinion?
We'll gradually take care of them one after the other. We take things as they come gradually. Yeah.
There was something I saw online that made me laugh. It said there was somebody that mentioned like different parastatals and said, "We're coming for you," which was funny enough. It was a lady that said it. It was really, really amazing. It said, "We are coming for you. This one, we're coming for you. This, we're coming for you. This, we're coming for you." So yeah, this is something that has not been. Has this ever happened before? That's one question. Has this ever happened before?
Not
in your
not in my
lifetime.
lifetime.
In your lifetime.
Not
Okay.
in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen
Okay.
something like this. Not in this way,
Okay.
anyways. I've seen other riots. I've seen protests, violent protests, but I've not seen people donating for other people, feeding fellow protesters in protest grounds, providing tents for people to sleep out, providing mobile toilets for people on the protest grounds. I
Only
have
in
not seen.
Nigeria, only in Nigeria will they will like why do Nigerians always have to take anything we do? Why do we always have to take anything we do a step further? Like why do we always have to do that? Like
we're not like the rest. We're not like the rest.
Yeah, of course. But there's also something else, right? There's something I want to talk about. The fact that only I think this is a protest model that has not been seen before, which is the protesters actually doing this kind of organization. I think this is something that the world will emulate down the road, where you have organized protests with food, with music,
because
with everything, with each other, people
we
protecting each other, with private security.
we
This is
had,
intense.
yeah, and
Wow, wow,
there's a full schedule for these things. We have um, protesters being able to watch live sports games
wow,
on protest grounds.
wow,
And on the Fridays and Sundays, we had Muslims praying while the Christians protected them on protest grounds. On Sundays, we had Christians praying while the Muslims protected them on protest
wow,
grounds.
wow,
So this
wow,
is this is brother this is brotherhood. Yeah,
wow.
and there was a candlelight video on Friday for people who had lost their lives to this police unit,
Minutes.
and it
Okay,
was
okay.
held nationwide. Yeah,
Okay. This is amazing. So the future is bright. Thank you so much, Royce, for spending
yeah,
this time with me. I really appreciate it. I would
anytime.
anytime, and I think I would definitely want to catch up with you a little bit more to see how these things are going. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.